What's up, gang? Today let's do some crown molding. So crown molding, first off, the part that goes down on the wall should always probably be the most detailed part. The part up in the ceiling is one with less detail. So with this, there's more detail down here, so I will put it up like so. To cut, I'm going to go through the cuts right now. All that I have is a bunch of inside corners. First, I'm not doing these, but if you have an outside corner and you're using a miter saw, this is how it sits on the wall or up on your ceiling. So when you're doing outside corner, it's going to be about 45 degrees each cut, because it's going to be 90 degrees. Your walls are usually. Outside corner doesn't matter how precise that is typically. What you will have is on an outside corner, the top part will be longer than the bottom. So you'll want to cut at a 45 degree like so. We're doing inside corners. With an inside corner, whenever you put it up on a miter saw, it's best to do it like this. You don't want it down, you want it up like it's resting on the wall. And this back part should act like it's the wall. The base of this should act like it's the ceiling. So you put it on upside down, push it up to where it's flush as to how it will be on the ceiling. As you can tell, it has a gap, flush like it is on the ceiling. On an inside corner, the bottom part is going to be longer. So this is how we want on the wall. We'll cut it and make it longer on the bottom. People cope some of these, which I'm not going to do. I'm just doing it straight miter. And the thing that will help with that, I got this from Home Depot. Costs like $8. It's not all walls are perfectly 90 degrees. Maybe some are 92, maybe some are 88, whatever. This dude, you can get this, and you can open it up. You can put it in a corner on a wall and get a reading of what your angle is. If it's an 88 degree angle, you will want to cut these at 44 degrees, because 44 plus 44, 88. 92, you'll want to cut them at 46 degrees. So this is a good tool to have if you're just doing if you're only using a miter saw and you don't want to cope. Okay, so that's how you do like your corner pieces. If you have pieces that aren't long enough to cover a whole room and you have to join two pieces, two ways you can do it. You can cut it straight, and I go straight down on it. You can also do them at angles though, and that's what some people do. Some people will cut the end of the board at an angle and then interlock them together, basically. Cut the joining board at an angle to interlock it. So as you can tell, I'm doing this post putting up the crown molding, this part of the video, but you get your stud finder, put it on, you go find your stud, you mark it with a pencil. You mark the studs on the walls, over there's a stud, and you mark the studs on the ceilings. There's a stud. And that can be where you nail these into. If you're using wood crown molding, that is. If you're using just the plastic crown molding, you really don't have to worry about putting them in a stud. You can literally just put them probably about a foot, or you can stagger them every 6 inches, one on the wall every foot, one on the so say you do a wall 6 inches, you do ceiling 6 inches. That's what people will do, and they'll go down the line doing that. But if you have wood, it's best to put them in a stud. So after you make your cuts, you start putting it up. I start with this side over here first and jam it in. This is my first one I'm doing, so I jam all the way over. You make sure you set it up at an angle to how it's supposed to sit, and then I'll nail in on the studs. You can see these little lines. I'll nail in on the studs. So I stopped about halfway here. I have real wood molding, and it's gonna bow out, and I'll go halfway, and then I'll come back. I'll start on this side. I'll match them in together, make sure it's on the wall and ceiling how it's supposed to, and go about halfway. I'll come over here, and I'll get this down. I'll go ahead and nail this end. It'll make it a little bit more difficult whenever if you keep on nailing all the way down and you have these real wood that can get bowed, because then once you nail it all the way down here, this very small piece that's not nailed down does not want to move. So if I would have stopped right here per se, whenever I came to this end, this dude would have a very hard time going down. It's more free to right now. Nailed this in, went back and finished. So now I'm going to take the next piece. I kind of looked out here and this is going right on a stud. A lot of people will cut their board to where it ends on a stud, and that's where they'll meet the other one in. So you can see the first thing is to make sure that butts up is clean as close as possible. Then stud it all the way down. I went about halfway, knocked out this side. Alright. Okay, so when we get to joining these two, where you're going to cut over to a wall, use that device we talked about to measure inside. Make sure it's 90 degrees. Sometimes it'll be 91. So measure that, make your cut. Whenever you make your cut, always remember the bottom is the long side if you're doing inside corners. So, example, this was 54 inches, and what we did, so I measured 54 inches, and it's 54 inches to the very bottom of this cut. So from the bottom of the cut to the other end, it's 54 inches. So of course the top of the cut is going to be shorter. Dry fit it, make sure it fits, which I've already done and it's in there. So what you'll do is, focus. So what you'll do is we'll line this up and try to get it matched as perfect as possible, which it's not right now. And we'll nail in this side and move it on down. So, butted this piece up, nailed along, came back, did the second rung. Now we'll fill it in and do the last wall. Okay, so congratulations, room is done. So now it's for some touch-ups. Use pencil to put these marks on your wall, focus, where the studs were, wipe them off, or you may have to paint over them. You'll have nail holes. You'll have your little seam where all the boards meet. So we will joint compound these. So we'll whip that out and get going. Lightweight spackle, putty knife. I have paper towels too here because I just use my finger on most of this. Okay, so when you come to this gap, you do it just like you did in the corners. Difference in this gap here is that you're probably going to have to fill it up a little bit more. You might actually have to use your putty knife. And then you're going to have to come back and probably sand this smooth. Now whenever you fill this up, you want to make it seem like it's transition. You cover this up and you're going to put more on it. But you're going to slowly have some spackle come over here. Just like if you're patching drywall or anything like that. And you're just going to sand it down a little bit. When I do it like I did in the corner, really get it in there. And then I'll fill it up more. Okay, so I got it all filled up. Now I'm going to use my putty knife. I don't want to see any reminiscence of these lines. But I also don't want to put it on too thick that you can't even see the detail of the wood, if that makes sense. So I kind of barely put pressure on it, spread it out both ways. So that is now filled up. And then we'll let that dry. Tomorrow we come back and we'll sand it down a little bit to make it look like it's more transition. Alright, so after the compound dries, next you want to sand all areas where you compounded just to smooth them out. So real quick, just go over it, just smooth it out, don't go all crazy on it. Hit all the crevices. And you'll do that to all where you compounded. Alright, down to the final couple steps. We're going to caulk everything, and then you'll just have to touch up paint. That's it. So, get yourself some painter's caulk. And my baseboards are white, so I use white. You want to caulk this up here, down below, and I even spread some right in the seams. Because sometimes they can kind of open up from the joint compound. So I'll just show you real quick here, just a little quick rundown. You can tape down here or up here off if you want. I don't because I'm lazy and I'm going to touch up anyway. So, and you usually don't have to worry about it if you just, when you go across, just take a little bit at a time, a little bit of the extra off at a time. It usually won't end up too bad. Then I'll take a rag and kind of go over the extra. So you do that all around, and then we'll touch and paint up, or touch up with some paint.